All right, it's Thursday, and you know what that means? It's time for Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Super Heavyweight. You follow me, I'll follow you back. And I'm captaining the ship solo tonight. So this is a slow part of the season. This is that time of the season where I'm like, man, what do I talk about? I already talked about camp. I've already talked about the draft. I talked ad nauseum about free agency. So you know, the cool thing about it, every week we have this show is another week we get closer to football season. So I'm really kind of depending on the listeners tonight to throw out some of their thoughts on what they're expecting from this team. And again, I don't want to beat a dead horse because we talked about a lot of this stuff. So I'll try to keep it on stuff that we haven't really talked about. For example, I did want to touch on the practice facility, and it looks like the indoor practice facility is they're getting close to getting it done. And I tell you what, it's going to be really nice when you consider this is a 100,000 square foot facility, and that's it's going to be nice. It's going to be some standard bearer for the rest of the league, and I'm really excited to see it. And I finally locked down which games I'm going to be going to. I'm definitely going to be at the Cardinals game, and I just bought my tickets for the Chicago Bears game. And for now, those are the two games. I do want to catch the Saints. I'd like to go down to New Orleans and catch a New Orleans home game, but I may end up coming back to Tampa and catching another Bucks game. Just not sure yet what I'm going to do. But as I'm looking at the schedule, I mean there are some games that I'm really interested in going to. I'd love to go to that New England Patriots game because hey, that's going to be a special game. And again, that's going to be a benchmark as to how good this team is or, where this team is at in the grand scheme of things. So definitely something to think about. And, I've been talking to people and I was one of those people. And a lot of people are getting pretty hyped up about the new show that the Buccaneers are going to be on. I just lost my train of thought, just like that. Hard Knocks. So I'll go on record. I'll go on record saying that I was that dude that I was against Hard Knocks, and I was like, man, I'm not looking forward to it. It's going to be a distraction for the Bucks. But I think with the quality of players that they have, I don't think it'll be a big deal, and I think it'll be something that the rest of the teams can see what we have going on here. Hey, what's up, John? How you doing, man? Any thoughts you have or any comments that you want to make tonight, please let me know, and I'll definitely get them on here and talk about them if that's what you guys want to talk about. So just kind of going back to the game that I'm going to. I grew up with the Bucks when they were in the NFC North Division with Minnesota Vikings, Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, and it was a lot of fun back in those days. Just checking out the different it was different because you had the big sombrero, and those games were those were pretty hard fought games all the time, and Tampa wasn't in for the majority of the time wasn't a very competitive team, but it was still fun to go to those games. Rarely even. What's going on? How you been? I've been trying to get a hold of you. I got a T-shirt for you. But yeah, so I'm just really again, I'm really hyped up for this season, and I think fans should definitely be hyped up and getting ready for this season. Okay, yeah, rarely even. Good question. How did I become a Bucks fan? Yeah, actually, I met Doug Williams right after he was drafted, and I took a picture with John McKay, and I'll never forget this shirt. My dad bought me this shirt. It was a Doug Williams shirt. It was orange and white, and it had Doug Williams Bayou Bullet, and that was my team. I mean, my father, we spent a lot of time in the Midwest, and you know that was always still my team. And just growing up and being able to go to some of the games and, see some of the different players that, I mean, like Jack Thompson. I remember shaking Jack Thompson's hand, and a lot of people make fun of him, but he was a really cool guy. The little short time he was here. Yeah, yeah. Sean Nelson, you better get them tickets, man, for that game. The Buckaholics are going to be here in force, man, and this is the only West Coast game that that they'll be able, that you'll have a lot of people going to. So you're going to see a lot more Buckaholics here, and it's going to be really exciting to get here and check it out, because I think that we'll be well represented this year, and it's going to be a good game, the Arizona game. Michael Pless, what's going on, man? How you doing? Please throw in the topic, whatever topic you got. Go ahead and throw it in there. And rarely even going back to that. So I've just followed the Bucks. I mean, win, lose, or draw, horrible general manager, horrible ownership. I mean, it's still the team, and just watching them go from bad to good to bad to good again, and then the bad, and then where we are right now. It's just been a roller coaster ride, and it's just been interesting. Michael Pless, is this 2017 roster the most balanced roster in franchise history as both sides of the ball go? You know what? That's a good question. I'm going to say the defensive line is the one thing I still kind of raise my eyebrow at, because I haven't seen them as a collective unit. But on offense, I don't ever remember seeing an offense this potent as a Buccaneer fan, going back to the 79 Bucks. I think that this team, this offense especially, on paper, what they're capable of doing will be definitely something that you'll want to see. And fans, I definitely encourage you to get out and check out a game, and make sure that you're out there in force supporting this team, because the Buccaneer fans can't make home field advantage. Hey, Rocco, how you doing? I want to make sure I catch everybody. Sean Williams, New Orleans Saints Under the Dome podcaster, thank you for checking out the show. Kevin Sloan, what's going on? How you doing? And just kind of getting back to the roster. You're talking about the 2017 roster, and that's again, when I have to fast forward to game 3, game 4, when Doug Martin is back, and just seeing if everybody's healthy, seeing what they do with everybody on the field at the same time, or having all those, Jameis Winston having all those weapons at his disposal. It should be really interesting to check him out and see what he does. Mario McMeans, what's going on? Mario is the guy that designed the Buc What You Heard logo that you're rocking on your T-shirts if you got T-shirts from me. And for those, and I mean to get off the subject here, but for those of you who haven't got your T-shirts, I got you. I promise I'll get this done. This heat has been horrendous. So, I apologize, but I'll get you taken care of. And, the thing, kind of going back to Michael Pless's comment here, I feel like, I'm a little bit more comfortable with the offense than I am the defense. And that's just based on, what I've seen last season and how they're coming along. So, I think this is a very balanced team. If the defensive line does what I hope they do, this team will be a very dangerous team, especially in the NFC South. I know that there have been a lot of teams that have loaded up with offensive weapons, but don't sleep on this defense. I think, what they've done with the secondary, with Vernon Hargraves making that next step, if he can continue to improve, with the secondary and our linebacker core, I think it's going to really make make a lot of teams nervous. Let's see, Sean Nelson, hell yeah, I can't wait. We ain't getting beasted on by no damn Angry Birds again. Yeah, man, and again, think about this, guys. You have a team that went to the Super Bowl, and the previous year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers swept them, and they split with them the next year. So, I would have to say Tampa's not doing too bad, as far as they're concerned. And, Kevin Sloan said, yeah, what do you think of the linebacker core? I'm going to tell you right now, a guy that that caught my attention. I've just been following him on Twitter since he's been here, but I've just really been noticing him is Quan Alexander. This dude is upset. I guess they had the top 100. I don't follow the top 100, just like I don't really follow power rankings, because the only rankings that really matter in the grand scheme of things are rankings for bowl games. The only rankings that really matter. The rest of them is just for show. They really don't amount to a whole lot. I mean, they may to other people, but that is just, it doesn't mean a lot to me. But for Quan Alexander, he's taken this personal. And the fact that he's been overlooked, this dude is furious. And I'm glad that they're sleeping on him. Go ahead and sleep on him if you want to. I'm gonna tell you right now, this guy is I would hate to be out there because he's talking about knocking masks off helmets and stuff. This guy he's ready to go, man. And that's the kind of fire you want. Hopefully, it'll be controlled, but he's going to go out there and make people know who he is. I think this year, I think this will be his year. I know I've been talking about, Noah Spence at times, having a good year this year, but I think that Quan will really have a good year. And Michael Plus, okay, fair enough. I just think our depth on both sides is pretty solid. Plus, with our star power is finally balanced on both sides of the ball, which we have never seen, and able to say that. Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. I'm not knocking it a little bit. I want to see him. I want to see him go. I want to see him practice. I want to see him out there hitting. I'll be definitely watching the Jacksonville Jaguars scrimmages. That'll be a good look to see, how they're coming around and, seeing what they're doing. Let's see. Rocco says, I'm not worried about the offense. It might take a couple of games to get him to gel. I'm a little worried about the secondary and the safeties, even though I like to pick up Justin Evans. Again, Rocco, what you have to keep in mind too is if that defensive line is rocking and they're getting pressure on the quarterback, it's going to make it it's not going to make it easy, but it's going to make it a little bit easier for your secondary to make plays. And what I have to say is, just based on the improvement from 2015 to 2016 that you saw from that secondary, I expect nothing but big things from them this year. I mean, that was a huge jump because I don't know if you guys remember, that was something that everybody in Twitter universe and Buckland, everybody was talking about the secondary from 2015 going into 2016 because of just how bad it was. So, that's something that I don't think you should worry as much about that. I think Hargraves is committed to getting better. He has the physical tools to play. I think being able to play next to Brent Grimes is really going to help him as well. And then, we're talking about Keith Summerall makes a great point. Besides Tandy, can you see Evans or Wilcox taking over a starting role? Wilcox, he might. I mean, that was the guy that replaced Bradley McDougall because McDougall kind of priced itself out of the Bucs market, so to speak. But again, this is what's going to happen. Dirk Cutter is going to have competition all throughout. So basically, you're going to have the best player available playing on day one. So again, I don't see a problem. I think that'll be a decent rotation. I don't think it'll be an Achilles heel for the Bucs. Especially if the defensive line is doing what they need to do and the linebackers are doing what they need to do. Let me go back through some of these. I think I may have missed something here. Quan has a permanent chip on his shoulder. Yes. Yeah. And that's something that this team, we haven't seen that on defense. When was the last time you guys can say you've seen that on defense where they've got that kind of edge that Ayers, Robert Ayers or, Quan Alexander has brought to this team? I think it's really exciting to see that. Kevin Sloan, Vernon Hargraves will only improve if he keeps learning and growing into his body. Yeah, absolutely. And what's cool about this, and I know I've mentioned this on previous shows, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the same coaching staff. And I cannot preach that enough because of all the turnover that we've seen throughout Raheem Morris, throughout Greg Schiano. And, we've just seen so much turmoil and so much turnover that you can't get consistent because you're steadily learning new systems. So what I'm seeing right now is a team that's going to be consistent. Your core players have been in the same system for a year. They know what's expected of them, and they know what to do. 2003, yes sir. There you go. And again, they're consistent. The core players know what to do, and it's going to be easier for people that they're plugging in, like a Baker, to come in and to fit right in, basically, because it's not like everybody's learning the new system. You have one person, and he's a consummate professional, so it shouldn't be hard to get him up to speed as well. So let me look through here and make sure. I want to make sure if I miss you here, if I miss a comment, please hit me up again, and I'll make sure to do that. Yeah, I know we're missing Michael Pless. Mike, I miss you, and I can't wait to get you back on the show. So just keep that in mind. Oh yeah, and Ryan Smith, thank you. How can we forget about Ryan Smith? Ryan Smith is a guy that I'm really excited about. They drafted him. I think he was drafted in the 5th round. What he's been doing and getting praise from your head coach, is always a good thing. Hopefully he can translate that onto the field, but he's somebody else. You're right. Ryan Smith is somebody that Bucs fans should be looking at. I think they will have a pretty decent rotation, come the first part of the season. Twinkie the King, what do you think the Bucs record? You know what? Unfortunately, even call me a cop out. I kind of stopped doing that about 3 years ago. I will say that they will have a winning record. I'm going to go out there and say that they will have a winning record. My expectations are for them to compete for the NFC South. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm of the mindset that this team should be preparing to go to the playoffs every year. I know they haven't had the weapons or the tools, but I think they're in a position right now where they should be looking at trying to get to the playoffs. I mean, that should be their number one goal, is to get to the playoffs. And I believe that they have the weapons to do it. So to answer your question, and I can't give you a specific record, but I can say they're going to have a winning record, and I see them going to the playoffs, and I stand by that. Do you think Cameron Brate or OJ Howard will have a better year? I'm going to say I haven't seen OJ Howard. Cameron Brate, I know what we're getting with Cameron Brate. I'm going to say Cameron Brate's going to, as long as he can stay healthy, I'm going to say that he's going to have the better year out of the two of them, being that OJ Howard is the rookie. Now, OJ Howard could come alive and surprise me, but I just think that Brate and the chemistry that Cameron Brate and Jameis Winston has kind of puts him in a position that he will get more looks than OJ Howard would. But eventually, OJ Howard will eventually get into his role. And please, guys, keep this in mind. You may see them both out on the field at the same time. It's not about who's starting over who. It's going to be about situational football. So I don't want you to think that one player is going to be better or get more time than the other guy. They're both going to be out there. And Keith Summerall, you think McNichols has a decent shot at playing time come week 1 with Martin's suspension? It's a good question. I didn't get to see a whole lot of him. I'm actually, my boss he watches the podcast too. I'm going to try to get down there for a couple of practices because that's a guy that I'm really interested in seeing myself. So stay tuned. If I get to physically see him, see how he works, I'll be able to give you a more definitive answer as we go along. Michael Pless, you're right. Cam Brate all day. Again, he has that chemistry with a Jameis Winston. So it's something that, I think will benefit him as well. And let's see, Kevin Sloan. Yeah, Ryan Smith is going to play cornerback, which is going to be interesting and a good thing. Yeah, that's his natural position. So, that's something that, I'm again, another player that I'm really looking forward to. And these are players that we really haven't talked about in the offseason with the arrival of a Deshaun Jackson and some of the other players they were bringing in. And Okay, Kevin Sloan is actually throwing out here between 10-6 and 11-5. All right. Let me write Kevin Sloan. I'm writing this down here. We'll discuss this end of the season. We'll go back here and see. Anybody else wanting to put their predictions down, please do. Let's see. I'm with Michael. I think Brady's going to have more yards than OJ and we'll have a solid season. You know what? The one thing that the Bucks didn't do as good as they could have is the red zone. So I think that what Tampa is putting together, if they can score some points in the red zone, that's more wins for them. There are games that they should have won if they had gotten more production in the red zone, and they really didn't. But again, they didn't have the weapons to do it. I think that Tampa is going to put together some stuff. And consider this: you've got a Cam Brate and a OJ Howard in the red zone. I mean, that's a matchup nightmare right there. All right, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Tall guy 10-6, Twinkie the King 12-4. Stuff says 9-7, and I'm glad the Glazier boys are finally spending some money. Rocco says 12-4. I guess I've always thought that the Glaziers, to some extent, well, I guess with Jason Light, they spent more money, but they're spending it the right way. Let's put it that way. And I think that, again, what they've been able to accomplish since they've owned the team. I don't know if anybody remembers the Culver houses, and I'm not going to speak ill of the dead, but I'm just going to say that this is definitely an upgrade. Even with them not spending money, as much money as they could have, is an upgrade from the Culver House era. So unless you had been through that, you have no idea. So that's why I've never been one of those people that has said that the Glaziers were cheap and they didn't spend money, because if you've been through the Culver House era, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Buck fan. Don't forget about Mike Evans as well in the red zone. Yeah, absolutely. Those are, when I didn't talk about Mike Evans or Deshaun Jackson, but those two guys are givens. I was just kind of keying on the tight end position. And, once Doug Martin gets back, and this is going to be the running back battle is going to be really interesting, because we're talking about the offense right now. And I'm all over the place. I really don't have show notes or anything. I'm just all over the place. So, it's in fun. We talked about Peyton Barber. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does. The actual running back battle is going to be very interesting, because you have Charles Sims, who can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's always capable of making that big play. And just seeing what he's going to be able to do should be interesting, competing with Jacquizz Rodgers and some of the other running backs. Sorry about that. And I feel if the O-line can step up, we'll have the best red zone offense. With J.R. Sweezy coming back, and he's 100% from everything that I've read and heard from some of the other reporters, I'm really excited about the offensive line. Let's see. Rocco says, you think McCoy will have his best season thus far? Princess Nikki said something last week that got me to thinking, and I had to kind of go back and look at some of my previous podcasts where we talked about Gerald McCoy. Gerald McCoy always knows the right thing to say at the beginning of the season, and I'm not knocking Gerald McCoy at all. I'm a huge Gerald McCoy fan, and I have been since he was drafted. But Gerald McCoy always says the right thing. Now, when it comes to being on the field, we see what he does. And I see, there are times where it's double team, whatever. But there are times when it feels like you need him in certain plays, does he step up? That's an argument that you can argue both sides on. And what I will say is I'm just going to wait and see what Joe McCoy does on the field. Does he back up what he's been talking about, taking personal responsibility and being better, and all the different things that he said? Every single year he says the right thing. So when it comes to football time, fourth quarter. Let's see if he's about it, if he's about what he says. And let's see here. Let me go back. Let's see. I think I'm sure. Okay, I think Barber will try to get a spot. Yeah, Barber. That's going to be another running back battle that should be pretty interesting too. Twinkie the King, Sims didn't show up when we needed him, but he was injured. And again, that's the one knock that there was on him, is that, he has gotten injured at very bad times. But when he's been healthy, you have to admit, Charles Sims, when he's healthy, he can ball out, and he always has the opportunity to make that big play. So that's something that we have to also keep in mind. Yeah, the indoor facility looks dope. I think $25 million to make it. You know what? That's the first thing that I'm going to see as soon as I land in Tampa, is I'm going to see that facility, because I've just heard so much about it. And I know my brother drives that way to work, so he gets to see it a lot. And he was telling me it looks amazing. So I'm looking forward to checking it out and seeing what the finished product is. Stuff 4 says Chris Baker will take some of the double teaming off of Gerald McCoy. You're right. I want to ask you guys, do you feel like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have done a good job getting help for Gerald McCoy, getting on the opposite side of Gerald McCoy? Do you feel like they have gone out and found the best players to help Gerald McCoy? Just kind of curious what you guys think, and I'll just kind of look for some of your answers. I'll finish reading some of the comments, but let me know what you think. With Sweezy back and Marpet moving to center, we should have an improved rushing attack. Yep, I can't argue that. I agree with you there. The play against the Falcons was dope. Yep, that was. Heck yeah, it looks amazing. Who do you think is on the bubble for losing a roster spot? What position, tall guy? I want to say yes to help McCoy out. TB Bucks fan, what's going on? So you think like bringing in Tony McDaniel or Clint McDonald was helpful for Gerald McCoy, or can you give me some other examples of who you thought came in and helped him out? Baker's a big dude, and he could be a gap eater. Yeah, there you go. Okay, tall FL guy, running back. So we have Doug Martin, who's going to be suspended. We have Jacquizz Rodgers, and I believe Jacquizz Rodgers is going to be your starter while Doug Martin is out. And then it'll be running back by committee. That's kind of what I see. Michael Plus, before Light, hell no. With Light, they have especially had at least 2 off seasons. So before Light, hell no. With Light, they have especially had the last 2 off seasons. Yeah, so yeah, there you go. So prior to Jason Light getting here, then they really didn't have that help. I think Noah Spence will take the next step forward and finally be the 10-sack guy we've been looking for. If he can stay healthy, man, I want to see a healthy Noah Spence play and see what he can do. That's gonna be exciting, is to see what he can do at 100%. TB Bucks fan, I believe our running game will benefit from added size up front and the inability to stack the box with all of our targets. You know what? There you go. Even you think about it, you have Deshaun Jackson, Mike Evans. You can't, again, I've said this like probably the last 3 podcasts, defensive coordinators will not be able to game plan against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the way they did last year. You might well throw your book out the window and start over from scratch, because you got to pick your poison. Is it double Mike Evans? Is it double Deshaun Jackson? What about Cameron Brate? If Cameron Brate's on the field, you double him. Where you guys, they have to play legit in order not to get beat real bad. So it's something that they have to, consider what they want to do. And let's see, what is Michael Plus said? Jack Smith is the key to the defensive line. He makes everything go as far as rotations go. Yeah. Michael Plus, hey, if you guys get a chance, if you haven't gone to realbuckstalk.com, please go to realbuckstalk.com and check out Michael Plus. Michael Pless and his partner Mark, great writers. And I know there are other places like Pewter Report and Joe Bucks Fan and some of these other places. Give these guys a shot. They really put a lot of thought into what they do, and they don't really blog the same things as everybody else is in the Bay Area. So please check them out. Kevin Baker is a beast. I think McCoy is a beast, but he can still do more, and he knows it. Don't believe he will be a Hall of Famer, but he needs to get 10 plus sacks, in my opinion. Yeah, you're right. Again, I want to see what he does on the field. I'm not gonna really listen to what he says. I mean, it's nice. He says the right things, and that's cool. But I want to see him on the field in the fourth quarter, key play, and he makes it. And again, I'm not comparing to Warren Sapp. I'm just saying for his position as what he has been billed as, I mean, that's what I would expect from him is to make those plays. And the defense, and my hats off to the defense. They actually have closed out some games last season. It's something that I'm really excited to see them improve on this year. Let's see. I'm excited for Lavonte to quiet his haters this season. Lavonte had a good season last year. I wish people would stop saying that. It's really annoying to me. I don't know what else I can say. Yeah, people throw stats in my face, but I'm like, there's intangibles. If you stop the film and go and watch any game last season, stop the film right after the ball is snapped and see where Lavonte David is and see what he's doing. He's making plays away from the ball, and it bothers me that people say, oh, he had a bad season. He did not have a bad season. He had a good season. And considering that he's coming in with another defensive coordinator, I thought he had a really good season. So, I mean, that's my take on it. That's what I saw, looking at the film. But guys, if you get a chance to go back and watch a game, even if you have it like DVR or something like that, go back and watch the game and freeze it right after the ball is snapped and look where Lavonte David is and let it go for a few seconds and look what he does. He shouldn't be taking the flack that he's taking, because I tell you what, if we had a different linebacker out there, it would be a whole nother story. And I can tell you for a fact that there are 31 other defensive coordinators that would love to have Lavonte David on their team. Bottom line, tape don't lie. And let's see, Michael Pless says, Lavonte sets up so many plays for Quan. It's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And TB Bucks fan, Lavonte takes flack for not making enough plays per se, but he always is in the right position. Yeah, he's in the right position, but again, there are these intangibles, things that you can't put statistics on that he does. And it just frustrates me that people say, oh, he had a bad season, he makes all this money and he didn't do anything. Yeah, he actually did. He actually did a lot. And I promise you, what you're going to see improvement where you're going to see him making plays, a lot more plays than he did last year. And you have to kind of go back and watch the film again, and you'll appreciate it a little bit better. And let's see, Rocco says, I like how they use Lavonte as a pass rusher. Yeah, he does a good job getting sacks. And Michael Pless says Lavonte was outstanding the last 5 games of last year. He had 4 sacks in 3 games. Exactly. So, to the people that said that he's not having a good season, I have to disagree with you on that. And let's see, they're talking about, I was checking on Twitter to see what they're talking about. But yeah, that's again, Lavonte David, he doesn't get enough credit for all the things that he does. And you have to consider, you go from having Mason Foster to Quan Alexander. I mean, not to badmouth anybody, but that's definitely going to help him out, because you got a player, you've got athlete. I mean, this guy is a monster. He ran running down wide receivers and stuff. I mean, that just, again, it's just it is what it is, man. And these guys don't get enough credit. TB Bucks fan, Grimes is underrated. Definitely. Brent Grimes has been underrated. I was mad that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers let Brent Grimes get over to Miami and didn't try to get him when he left Atlanta. All the nightmares that he gave Josh Freeman all those years. And I'm thinking, yeah, man, you got a cheaper wide receiver or cheaper cornerback. He would have been perfect here back then. But what do I know? I just watch the game. I don't get paid for any of this, so it's just fun. Twinkie the King, our linebackers are way underrated. Yeah, good. I like this. I'd rather them fly under the radar. You can sleep on those linebackers all you want. You can sleep on the cornerbacks all you want. And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for people that are just kind of, just let it, thinking they're going to get an automatic win. And let's see. Mason Foster used to set up plays for Lavonte, which allowed him to make more plays. Now Lavonte is doing the same for Quan. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, and Michael, let me ask you this, Michael, as you're listening, do you feel like Lavonte David isn't making all these plays because Quan is? Or is it just, the scheme? What I'm seeing is plays away from the ball that kind of drives the play to a Quan Alexander. And let's see, I like Mason Foster. I thought he was a decent player. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not taking anything away from Mason Foster. I'm just saying that they upgraded when they drafted Quan Alexander. And, what he's able to do, and, what he's able to do is just, it shows itself basically. And let's see, Keith Summerall, I'm curious to see who wins the Super job on. Oh, so strong side linebacker. Sorry. Bond or Beckwith. Beckwith is not healthy, not 100%. I don't know. I don't know if that's like a work in progress or how he's actually going to fit into this defense. If you guys get a chance, Michael Pless wrote an article on Beckwith that I'd really like for you guys to go out and read on realbuckstalk.com. And I thought that, he brought up some great points. Personally, I watched Beckwith, some of his highlights. And the one thing that concerns me is the fact that he can't shed blocks. And tight ends can line him up and they can push him out of plays. And I don't know if that was just an off year for him or what happened. 2015 was probably a better year for him. But just what I saw from him before he got injured, prior to him getting injured, he just couldn't shed blocks. And it just kind of concerns me. So hopefully, again, Jason Light, I have so much faith in him. And he knows way more than I do about football. So I'm guessing that he sees something that none of us see. But I couldn't tell you about where they're going to use Beck with that. And let's see. I've been running my mouth. There could not be a more perfect teammate for Hargraves than Brent Grimes. I 100% agree with that, TB Bucks fan. And they're about the same size. And what's cool about that is you see Grimes making plays. Grimes made a bunch of plays last year. I mean, he pretty much pulled Cam Newton's heart out of his chest with that interception and stepped on it. And it just, everybody pretty much wrote him off when the Bucks picked him up in free agency. I tell you, nobody made a big deal about it. I was excited to have him here because I saw how productive he was in Miami. And he's one of those guys that, again, I thought should have been a Buccaneer after he left Atlanta. But what do I know? Let's see. The way the scheme is set up, the Bucks rotate their linebackers more, meaning 4-3 over with the strong side linebacker over the tight end all the time. And there's that. Quan's college tape was pretty underwhelming. So hopefully our coaches see something special with Beckwith. Keith, you make a great point. That's true, because I was one of those guys that when Quan was drafted, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We got a linebacker. He's probably a project linebacker. We'll see what he does. And I had to eat crow. And I've gone on Twitter multiple times and I've actually tweeted him and apologized for overlooking him with the draft because I whiffed big time on that one. I didn't see what everybody else saw. And then TV Bucks fan, Grimes could have had 10 picks, but he dropped like 6 over the year. Yeah. If he could catch the ball, he'd be a wide receiver. So there's that. But, breaking up plays and, breaking, jumping routes and stuff like that. That's the kind of aggressiveness that Tampa hasn't had in the secondary for a while. So when you see guys that are jumping routes and stuff like that, that's what makes me excited. Even if they get burnt, I'm still excited to see that aggressiveness going after the ball, not being reactionary, but being proactive, towards the play. So that's something I'm really excited about. And Rocco says, I think Bond will start, but I think Beckwith will eventually start. I thought his tape was pretty good. Okay. Are you, Rocco? I hope you're on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. If you're not, get at me. I'd love to talk to you after the show, because I'm really interested in what you're talking about. Michael Pless says the good news with Beckwith is he will be a strong side linebacker, which is a much better fit for his skill set. You make a great point. I can't argue that either. I'm going to disagree about Quan's college tape. Yeah, I would. I did. Again, I totally missed on that one. I didn't even really research him, and again, I've apologized to him about that. And Bucs fan, what do you think of our safeties? Safeties. I think that Keith Tandy is a guy that I'm really excited for. I've always felt like Keith Tandy never got a chance to compete to start. Throughout, since he's been drafted, he's never really had that opportunity to compete to start. They've always brought players in and set play and just pretty much handed players the keys to the car and said, here, you're the starter. But what he was able to do last season, it kind of confirmed what I was saying. I felt like he never really got a chance to compete. He'd have a good preseason, he'd have a good camp, but he never got a chance to compete for a starting position. So it's good to see him getting that opportunity. And speaking of Werner getting burned, how is Werner still jobless? Again, I don't know. Tape don't lie, so I don't know. Quan flashed on film while Beckwith didn't, just my opinion. Quan's college tape showed an athletic linebacker who was completely lost at all times. All of the analysis had him pegged as a career special teamer. Why did we keep Conte and not McDougal? McDougal wanted, I believe how it worked out, and I may be wrong about this. Michael may be able to help me out with this, but I believe McDougal wanted a lot of money, and I think he priced himself out of his position, because I believe the Bucs did want to keep him, and I think that he kind of priced himself out of his position. And then when he tested free agency, he didn't get any bites, and he ended up settling with the Seahawks. So he definitely could have been a Buck. And I do know for a fact that Tampa did try to keep him. Let's see. Was very happy to see Keith get the opportunity after all these years. Yeah, Buck fan, I'm right there with you. Keith Tandy is a guy that he comes into camp every year. He comes in prepared, and I love this coach and the fact that he has competitions. And if a player is rewarded, a player will get rewarded for their hard work, and that's what I really appreciated. I like McDougal. I think he was asking for too much money. Yeah, that's what I was under the impression, that he kind of priced himself out of that safety position. And say all the bad things you want about Lovey. Quan was a Lovey pick through and through, sideline to sideline linebacker. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about that, only because I've seen the draft picks and the free agent moves with Jason Light and Lovie Smith, and then I've gotten to see draft picks and free agent moves with just Jason Light. So I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, I'm glad to have Quan here. And again, I'm glad to be wrong on that. And I would go back and be wrong again if that's what it took. But I'm happy for him. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, he's a guy that I have high expectations for. I think that he's mad about, the way that he was not even mentioned. And I think he's going to have a monster season this season. let's see here. I like McDougal. I think he's asking for too much money. Now he's buried behind that depth chart. Yeah, and let's see, Michael Pless. McDougal was very bad on film, was late on every play. Conte was better as far as reacting and making plays. Um, let's see. I thought overall Conte was terrible, but some games saved his Bucks career. Do you think Stevie T will make the team? Absolutely. That's a guy. It's another guy that I'm rooting for. Um, I know if you guys remember, if you guys have been watching last year or year before last, Kenny Bell was my guy. Kenny Bell was somebody I thought that was going to be that guy that made the team, and he did a lot of special things that just didn't happen like that. Stevie T, you know his story, coming from Utah, going to USC, doing what he did. And he's a hard worker, and he's in there working hard. And, you look at his film, and the guy's relentless. I think that, there is a spot on the team for him. I mean, you look at his size, he's a space eater, and he's a run stopper. So I think that he would be an ideal fit. I mean, when you consider the running backs like I guess the Adrian Petersons and Freemans and some of the other running backs that are in our division, I think that he'd definitely be a big benefit for those guys trying to run up the middle. Let's see. Interesting to see what Wilcox and Justin Evans can do. Yeah. Again, that's gonna be really interesting. I know stat wise, and you can't really say a whole lot about stats. You can make stats say whatever you want to, but Wilcox will definitely compete for that starting position. Justin Evans, I don't even know if Justin Evans is 100%. I know he was injured at the time he was drafted. I don't even think that he practiced in OTAs or anything like that. I think he's still recovering from his injuries. I'll have to read up on that, and I'll be able to talk better about it next week on the show. And Michael Pless, again, said not saying Conte was much better, just McDougal was worse. Okay. Quan was listed, TB Bucks fan, Quan was listed at 109 on the honorable mentions on the top 100. He was not thrilled about it. I know. If you've been following, guys, that is somebody you want to follow. If you're on Twitter, if you're not following him, you need to follow him and turn on the alerts because, I mean, this guy is passionate about football. And that's what makes me excited about the team too, is you've got guys that are passionate about the game. I mean, it's not like I'm making a check and I can go home at the end of the day. These guys want to be the best at what they do. Quan has taken that step. And I'm telling you what, the fact that he was discounted on this top 100, it meant a lot to him. So I don't know. I think that you're going to see some really big plays out of him. I think that he's going to definitely help this team improve. Yeah, my opinion, but I think McDougal is better than Wilcox. He can hit, and that's about it. Well, unfortunately for him, he's in Seattle, and I don't know where he is on a depth chart. I haven't really been following the Seahawks, but what I will do, as we get closer, there are a couple of teams that I do follow to see what they do because they have former players. And I know Chicago's one. I want to see what Glennon does. McDougal and Detroit. I think Howard Jones is in Detroit, I believe. So those are some former Buck players that I really like, and just kind of get out there and see what they did. As for Bradley McDougal is a KU Jayhawk alumnus like myself, and so I follow him. I just to see what he does. So that's kind of my take on him. So that's why you don't hear me say too many bad things because he's alumni. Yep, I heard Wilcox is another Mark Barron. So Buck fan, and I've heard that too, that he's not good in coverage. And again, I didn't really follow the Cowboys a lot other than that game that Tampa should have won that didn't win. But that's about as much as I follow the Cowboys. So it'll be curious to see how Mike Smith uses him in this defense. Talib, embarrassment, maybe. He's a good cornerback, but he's a nutcase. He was a nutcase at Kansas. So, there's that. But you know, that he again, he's a good cornerback. He's just like a loose cannon. Let's see. No, because Quan does not hit as hard. Let's see. Where does this? Can Quan be a Ray Lewis? No, no, nobody can be a Ray Lewis. Only Ray Lewis could be Ray Lewis. That guy is on another level. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen him up close. Guys, I mean, when he was playing, he's a freaking monster. I saw him in Ybor City one year, and he was walking with one of his friends, and that guy he's huge, and he's fast, and he talks to himself. I mean, that's the combination that, I don't want to get too close, but yeah, I don't think there'll ever be another Ray Lewis. Don't get in a cab with Talib. Talib was getting into fights at KU too. So, I mean, it's just always been who he is. I mean, it's just who he is. Yeah, I don't know why you'd wear an expensive gold chain on a football field personally. I know some players do. Me personally, I regardless of how much it costs or how much money I have, I just wouldn't do it. But I guess Talib told him that, hey, if you wear that chain again, I'm ripping it off. And he pretty much did. So, there's that. But let's see. I'm going to go back through here one more time, make sure I haven't missed anything. Man, this went real quick. Overall, Conti is terrible. You know what? Chris Conti is good in a backup role. I just don't see him as a starter. I mean, he's okay. And Michael Pless talked about people being lost. I always felt like there were plays where Conti got turned around, or he may have been in the wrong position. And I don't know if it was because it's a new defense or I'm not sure what it was, but I just didn't feel, as like he was a starter. So I don't know. Rocco says Justin Evans has more range. If he can work on his tackling, he will be a beast. I think he takes a safety spot with the Tandy man. I don't know. I haven't seen enough on Justin Evans to really know for sure. And Conti was constantly getting burned. He did get some interceptions though, that that I was shocked for. I wasn't expecting that. What do you think of the depth, our corner depth after Grimes and Hargraves? Ryan Smith, we talked about Ryan Smith. Let's see. I want Tandy to be as dominant as we saw last year, but I doubt he can keep up that kind of performance. You know what? I'm going to disagree. Again, as I was talking about earlier, I really feel like Keith Tandy never got a chance to compete for a starting position. I felt like he always, with Schiano, he was there with Schiano for the brief moment that Schiano was there. And it just seems like he never got a chance to compete. He did enough to stay on the team, but he was never in the running for a starting position when he should have been. I've always felt like, he should have gotten more reps. And I always thought he would be a rock solid safety. So, again, I'm glad to see that he put in the work and got where he was. And I think he'll be just fine. Going back to the question about the cornerback depth, you have Ryan Smith and Jude Aje-Barima, who's another person that I like him. And we'll see how he does. He's managed to do enough to stay on the team. And, again, you're going to need that depth considering there will be injuries throughout the season. Let's see, given that rookie tight ends rarely shine on stat sheets, what do you expect out of OJ this year? I expect OJ to be used. You have Cameron Brate, and again, Michael Pless has talked about this many times. You can have a 2 tight end sets. And, there may be plays where you can utilize 2 tight ends and they'll both get time to play. I feel like, with everything else that's going on, I feel like this team is really in a position to do some big things, and I think that both tight ends will be utilized. So let me go back through here and make sure I haven't missed anything, guys. But this is great. This is let's see, Elliott. 35, Elliott. I should know. What about Elliott? Let's see. Javian Elliott. And Javian Elliott, I totally forgot about him. That's horrible. Again, Javian Elliott, another person, that'll definitely be competing for time. I'm sure that they'll be rotating that secondary in and out. And again, you have to keep in mind, if there's injuries, these guys have to be ready to step up. So, it just kind of remains to be seen. Yeah, that's gonna be a good camp battle right there, Bucs fan. The nickel for that nickel position to see who gets there. Do you think we keep Stalker because that tight end room is so young? I think if it were me, I would say is Myers. Let me see, Myers still on the team. Luke Stalker, I guess Luke Stalker is the one player. I like what he can do, but he's always getting hurt. I mean, he just can't stay healthy, and that's the one knock against him. And I think he does good things, but as a blocker. But when you have a OJ Howard who can block as well, I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell if they keep him around or not, considering all the other tight ends that they have. So that's also something else that just kind of remains to be seen as well. And as far as tight ends go, you're talking about Anthony Auclair, Alan Cross, OJ Howard, Luke Stalker, and Telvin Westbrook. So there's just a lot of stuff, a lot of different players that are competing for that. So let's see here. Myers is gone. Elliott played well. Yeah, he did. When he was called upon, he did play good. So, yeah, again, I mean, when you look at the tight end competition, you've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 6 tight ends in camp right now. So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting battle outside of the starting 2. So, let's see. So, guys, what do you think about me doing this? I mean, during the football season, I would really like to do something like we're doing right now, so that you guys get a chance to comment and get your thoughts out there as well. I think it would be kind of cool to just kind of hear from everybody, as opposed to me running my big mouth all the time. But just let me know what you think. Hit me up on Twitter. Respond. Also, you can respond on that after this podcast is over. Definitely respond and let me know what you think. If you enjoy doing this is cool. And guys, got a big surprise. I'm gonna have I kind of tweaked the design on the Buc What You Heard t-shirts, and I'm working on the design right now. It should be ready probably in about a week, and then I should have the 2 different kinds of t-shirts out there. I've gone with the old Tampa Bay Buccaneers logo on the flag, as opposed to the new Buccaneers logo flag. So we're gonna have 2 different kinds of shirts, and I think that's gonna be kind of dope. I'll be handing them out if you're at the Cardinals game. I'll be handing them out at the Cardinals game. I'll be handing them out at the Bears game. So just trying to generate some interest in the podcast. Thinking about doing some hats. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna do some fun stuff this year. Definitely be doing some giveaways and stuff like that. So please keep checking me out, and hopefully, I can get Michael Pless on here, when we get closer to camp, and get his thoughts on things, because he's sorely missed. But let's see. Let me go back through here one more time. I can't believe it's already 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock your time, if you're on the East Coast. So let me go back through here one more time. Yeah, you're right. Douglas O'Connor can't stay healthy, separate in routes. Yeah, that's true. If they keep 5 tight ends, who's cut? Good question. And Michael Pless, Stalker depends on the other tight ends, all clear across, and also if they keep a traditional fullback. Um, I don't think. I guess the NFL's kind of going away from fullbacks. I think they're a nice little weapon to have, but it just looks like teams are just kind of getting away from the fullback position. And TV Bucks fan, even though we drafted Howard, I really hope we can keep Brait for many years. Oh, please, I'm telling you right now, guys, don't worry. Cameron Brate's going to be here for a while. If you've looked at the chemistry between Cameron Brate and Jameis Winston, I mean, I'm telling you, that's his security blanket. That's a guy that he knows he can go to and depend on. I don't see Cameron Brate going anywhere for a while, unless there's injury or something crazy happens. I really don't see anything happening with Cameron Brate. He's a part of this. He's a part of this offense. He's a huge part of this offense. So I wouldn't worry about that. Keith Summerall, Brate and Howard are the key to our offense, allows for versatility out of multiple formations. You are absolutely right. And the fact that O.J. Howard was underutilized at Alabama makes a big difference. And great news. It looks like Michael Pless will be back on the podcast next week. So we can look forward to hearing some of his wisdom and, trying to, kind of spice up the show a little bit. Hypothetical, besides Winston, if there was an expansion draft and you could protect 5 players, who would it be? Besides Winston, I'd say Mike Evans, Lavonte David, Quan Alexander, Brennan Hargraves, and Ali Marpet. Those would be my guys. Hey, Rocco, you have a good night. So that's pretty much what I have. Let's see. So those are my 5. You know what? On Twitter, if you guys can hit me up on Twitter and let me know your 5, I'm going to read those off next week. Just so that everybody else can check it out. So if you get a chance, just hit me up on Twitter and let me know what you think. Well, guys, thank you so much for helping get through this week. We are another week closer to camp and just that much closer to the regular season. And guys, I am so super excited. And this is going to be a fun year. Again, if your expectations are raised high, keep them raised high and expect the best out of this team. I know I will be. So again, to all the guys that if I haven't got your shirt out, trust me, I got you. I'm going to get it taken care of. And you should be getting your shirt here shortly. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have. And I really appreciate everybody's input. This was a great podcast for me. I appreciate everybody taking the time to check it out. And I'll have a little bit more stuff going on next week. And, it'll be a fun show. Rocco, thank you so much for all your input. That's been great. I really appreciate it. Doug, thank you so much. Michael, look forward to seeing you next week. Everybody else, thank you for checking out Buc What You Heard. Have a good weekend. It's the holiday weekend. Please, everybody be safe. Everybody be safe. And don't do anything crazy with just with M80s or just Jason Pierre-Paul. That's all I'm going to say. But anyway, have a good night. Bye.